12 spine-chilling gas station horror stories revealed. Terrifying encounters you must not ignore. The clock ticked closer to midnight at the gas station on Maplewood's outskirts, shadows growing bolder in the flickering fluorescent lights. Sarah, a weary single mother in her late 30s, tried to shake off the creeping unease that wrapped around her, amplified by every distant sound of rustling leaves outside. Darkness lurked, and she could feel its touch. A combination of exhaustion and fear had settled deep within her bones, heavier than the bags under her eyes. The night was full of stories. Whispers of missing persons haunted the air like the static buzz that filled every corner of the empty store. She stole a glance outside. The world felt smaller, a suffocating cradle of secrets. And there it was, the abandoned sedan, a ghost of rusted metal stationed at the edge of the lot. Its faded paint merged seamlessly with the encroaching night. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the disquiet in her heart. At the back of the store, Paul, the local handyman, entered. His smile felt strung tight like a bow ready to snap. "Hey, Sarah! Working late again?" His voice dripped with a casual familiarity that made her skin crawl. As he leaned against the counter, questions poured out, innocuous in design but charged with something deeper. "How's Emily? Is she sleeping all right?" Every word hung in the air, thick and heavy, making her pulse quicken. There was something wrong in his eyes, a flicker of intent that jabbed at her instincts. Sarah forced a laugh, masking her discomfort. "Yeah, just the usual. Busy night and all." But inside, the alarm bells rang louder, drowning her laughter in a tide of ominous currents. He lingered too long, those predatory eyes tracking her every move, until he finally left, the bell chiming cheerily, an eerie contrast to the weight pressing down her chest. Hours later, Jess, her vibrant coworker, had yet to return from her break. "Jess?" Sarah called out, her voice swallowed by silence. Anxiety crawled through her. Glancing out, the sedan remained still, but something had changed. The stillness was now suffocating. "Come on, Jess," she muttered, half hoping it was just a prank. Each tick of the clock felt like a hammer hitting her skull. Trying the police was a dance of futility. Their dismissive tones made her feel like just another tired drama from the town as single mother. "Just a gas station," they said. But the darkness was not just outside, it seeped into her home, her thoughts, pulsing like a living entity. Her nights turned frantic. People glared as if she was the intruder. She was no longer one of them. Every polite smile held a hint of spite, every offer of help felt tainted with ulterior motives. Then came the night Paul followed her home, shadows lengthening behind him, breathing down her neck. As she gripped the pepper spray in her pocket, her heart raced. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice barely above a whisper. His smile twisted, revealing shards of menace, and he leaned in closer. Just as despair rocked her world, a sudden movement caught her eye. The abandoned car had come alive, headlights flickering like eyes in the night, a predator in waiting. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Terror gripped her as she stood frozen. The stakes revealed themselves in stark relief. The predator existed not in the shadows alone but in the very fabric of her community, and she was fighting alone. She forced herself to breathe, muscles twitching with apprehension as the vehicle edged closer. They were circling her, shadows in the corners of her mind, whispers blending with reality. What choices would she make now that the monster was unmasked, lurking not just in the dark alleyways but behind the facade of friendly faces? Could anyone be trusted in her quest to protect Emily from the chilling reality encasing her in a net tight enough to suffocate? The air grew thick with uncertainty, and with every heartbeat, she felt the dread deepening. The headlights blinked ominously, cutting through the darkness, illuminating Paul's face as he smirked, a mask of twisted satisfaction. It felt as if the world had descended into madness, each twisted grin a reminder of how thin the line between reality and nightmare truly was. She tried to swallow the lump forming in her throat, every instinct screaming at her to run, to escape. But there was nowhere to go, the shadows were thick, and she was rooted to the ground. "Who's in the car, Sarah?" Paul leaned closer, the words oozing from his lips like venom. "Maybe they're friends of yours? Or part of our little community?" The way he emphasized community made her stomach churn. It felt like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing, fragments of a bigger picture she couldn't yet see. "Leave me alone," she managed, her voice barely a whisper, cracking under the weight of her fear. She tightened her grip on the pepper spray. It felt like only a flimsy piece of plastic against the chilling dread swelling inside her. Then, from the darkness, a figure stepped out from the sedan, shrouded in shadows. It was a woman, but something in her movements felt wrong, jerky and unnatural, as if she were a puppet pulled by unseen strings. Sarah's heart raced, pounding like thunder in her chest. "Hey!" she shouted, hoping to detect any glimmer of humanity in the figure. The woman turned, her face ghostly pale, highlighted only by the flickering lights around them. Paul laughed, a sound that chilled Sarah to the marrow. "Don't you recognize her? She's the one you've been looking for, isn't she?" His voice dripped with mockery, and the smirk on his face twisted into something darker. "Jess." Panic coursed through her veins. No, that can't be. But deep down, she felt it, the truth pushing against her mind like a vice. Why hadn't he just returned? The puzzle pieces were falling, revealing a sinister design. She glanced back at the figure. The woman's eyes were black, hollow voids sucking in the light around her. "Help me!" the woman croaked, but the words sounded distorted, stretched thin like old leather. The sound reverberated through the night, an echo of despair that matched the pit opening in Sarah's stomach. "Help?" Paul mocked. "She should have been careful, just like you, Sarah. Secrets don't stay buried forever." In that moment, Sarah understood the car, Paul, the woman, everything had coalesced into a web of horror that ensnared her tightly. She could feel the shadows closing in, whispering sweet nothings of fear. Each step backward felt like a surrender, each glance toward the sedan offered no salvation, just menacing silence. "Get away from me!" Panic surged, clawing its way up her throat. But in the blink of an eye, Paul lunged forward, fast and predatory, and every ounce of strength drained from her limbs. "Why don't you invite her in?" he said, voice dripping with malice. "It's safer inside, isn't it? You might find out some things that will keep you awake at night." The smirk never left his face, but in it, she saw layers of horror unfurling. Realization hit her like a cold wave, the danger silenced the world around her. Emily was her only thought as that name cascaded through her mind, the light of her daughter's smile fueling her fight. Instinct surged, she broke into a sprint, heart racing, not willing to wait for revelations. But as she dashed toward her front door, a chilling laugh echoed behind her, a scream echoing in her mind. The night held so many secrets, and the ghosts of this town whispered her name, weaving through the fabric of her reality. Would she reach safety, or would the darkness claim her and Emily? As she crossed the threshold, she felt the air shift, electric with danger. The game had just begun, and the real horror was only a heartbeat away. The front door slammed shut behind Sarah, the solid block of wood a fragile barrier against the encroaching dread that lurked just outside. She leaned against it, heart racing, ears straining to hear the sounds beyond. The laughter. The whispers. They draped around her like fog, seeping into her consciousness. "Emily!" she called out, panic heightening her voice. But all that answered was the chilling echo of her own fear reverberating through the silence of the house. She stepped back, glancing toward the dim hallway, where shadows danced menacingly under the sparse light of the bare bulb overhead. A shiver crawled up her spine. She had to find her daughter. The sense of urgency clawed at her insides as she sprinted deeper into the house, every creak of the floorboards amplifying her anxiety. "Emily!" A helpless plea. Where was she? The living room, usually so cozy, felt alien now, the air thick with an unnameable dread. The curtains billowed gently, like hands reaching out, trying to beckon her back toward the door. She fought the urge to look back, knowing Paul was right there, waiting. Out of the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement caught her attention. Sarah froze, staring into the kitchen. Something was off. The shadows in there seemed alive, writhing against the dim light. Bile rose in her throat. "Stay inside," she yelled. The fierce command belied her trembling hands, each finger wavering near her pepper spray. But would that be enough? The reality of her daughter's silence twisted her gut. She moved cautiously, footfalls soft but heavy with the weight of uncertainty. As she approached the threshold of the kitchen, she noticed the back door stood ajar, swinging slightly in the night breeze. The screen door creaked, and a chill gust rushed inside, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and something sickly sweet. "Emily?" A ghostly whisper fluttered through the air, slicing the silence. Was that her daughter? Or was it something worse? Clenching her teeth, Sarah crept toward the open door, every instinct warning her to turn back, to gather whatever safety she could. But what if her daughter needed her? Just as she reached for the door handle, a figure stepped into the entrance, a man, tall and gaunt, with eyes that glinted like shards of glass in the faint light. The breath caught in her throat, and her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. "Looking for someone?" he asked, his voice smooth and cold, sending a shiver down her spine. He leaned forward, revealing a face marred by darkness and shadows. Each inch of him radiated danger. "Get away!" She stumbled back, raising the pepper spray, fingers trembling like leaves caught in a storm. "Oh, you've got guts, don't you?" His smile widened, a predator savoring his impending meal. "But you should know the real monsters are not always the ones you expect." Before she could respond, the sound of frantic footsteps echoed from the upstairs hallway. Chills of hope and fear raced through her. "Emily!" As she pushed past the menacing stranger, eyes wide, she heard the laughter again, darker now, twisted, mocking. In an instant, she was racing up the stairs, heart pounding, dread pooling deep again. What awaited her at the top? And then, amidst the chaos of her thoughts, came a single malignant reminder: Paul had been a monster too. What if he's not done with you yet? The stranger's voice drifted after her, eerily calm. With desperation clawing at her throat, she sprinted toward her daughter's room, every heartbeat a drumroll of imminent chaos. Had Emily been taken? What other horrors awaited her? Each step was a gamble, a fleeting chance between safety and the unknown. The hallway stretched before Sarah like a never-ending nightmare, shadows cloaking every corner. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she climbed the stairs, gasping for air. The laughter echoed again, now creeping down the walls, wrapping around her like icy fingers. "Emily!" she screamed, voice taut with fear. Reaching the landing, she paused, scanning the narrow corridor littered with old photographs, their eyes seeming to follow her, judging her with lingering disapproval. Each frame showcased a smiling family full of life she no longer recognized. "Mommy! Help!" The cry shattered the oppressive silence, pulsing straight through her veins. It came from Emily's room, the door half open. Heart racing, Sarah rushed forward, pushing the door wide. The sight inside stole her breath. The room was empty. The bed lay undisturbed, covers pulled tight as if no one had slept there for days. But then she noticed at the open window, curtains fluttering wildly, their edges curled like fingers grasping for something lost. What had happened here? No, panic swept over her. Thoughts of the gaunt man flickered at the edge of her mind, a grotesque reminder of another horror lurking just outside. She couldn't stand there, exposed and vulnerable. Sarah turned on her heel, ready to search the rest of the house, her pulse screaming with terror. As she stepped back into a hallway, the laughter returned, sharper now, a cacophony of taunts echoing around her. Each giggle twisted into a dissonant note that crawled under her skin. "Emily!" A raw shout that felt increasingly futile. Just then, the air thickened and shifted. From the shadows, the figure materialized once more, the man from the kitchen. This time, he stood at the top of the stairs. His grin was wide, impossibly so, and his eyes gleamed with a mix of hunger and amusement. "Did you think it would be that easy?" he taunted, voice low and chilling. The floorboards creaked beneath him as he approached slowly, deliberately. Sarah felt the walls close in, fear tightening her chest. She backed away, retreating into the darkness of Emily's room as he stepped closer, anticipation written all over his twisted face. "Your daughter is so very special," his lips curled into a sneer. "She and I are just playing a little game." "What are you talking about?" she snapped, desperation fueling her voice. "Where is she?" His laughter echoed, a shrill, unholy sound that echoed down the empty halls. "You have to find her before I do. But let's be honest, I'm so much better at the hunt." With that, he lunged forward, a sudden rush of movement that sent adrenaline surging through her. Heart racing, she darted away, bolting down the hall. The laughter followed, weaving in and out of her thoughts, spinning around her. Every door she passed seemed to whisper dark secrets, urging her to turn back. But she couldn't. Not when she hadn't found Emily. Her fingers brushed against the walls, looking for something to anchor her, something to give her strength. And that's when she saw it, a gleam of light spilling from the bathroom. Hidden within the deepest shadow, a promise of refuge. With no time to spare, Sarah bolted into the bathroom. Desperation clawed at her throat as she slammed the door shut and turned the lock. Leaning against it, she closed her eyes, listening as muffled footsteps resorted to a halt outside. Then the laughter returned, higher, echoing through the house, crystalline and sinister. It seemed to beckon her to the edge of madness. In the eerie stillness, Sarah's breath quickened, her skin crawled with the sensation of eyes upon her. She had to find Emily. But would she be brave enough to confront the darkness lurking just beyond the door? And what if the horror inside her own house wasn't the only battle to be fought? A sharp knock swept through the room, and the man's voice slithered through the cracks, cool and taunting. "Are you hiding, Sarah? Don't you know it only makes the hunt more exciting?" The bathroom felt like a coffin, and dread wormed its way back into her mind. What lay waiting for her outside? Before she could contemplate her wavering will, something struck the door with horrifying force, rattling the frame. "Let's play a game," she froze as terror gripped her, the world outside holding its breath. How much longer before the real game began? The door trembled under the weight of the attack, splinters splintering under the relentless force. Sarah's heart thudded painfully against her ribcage, each pulse a reminder that time was running out. The laughter outside morphed into eerie whispers, words twisted into something unrecognizable yet unmistakably malicious. "Let's play," the voice cooed, dripping with sickly sweetness. She swallowed hard, her throat dry and raw. Fear clawed up her spine. She had never felt so trapped, so utterly hopeless. The walls seemed to close in, and for a fleeting moment, a wild thought nudged its way into her mind. What if she wasn't strong enough to face whatever lay beyond that door? No! Emily needed her. The conviction surged through her, impervious to the gnawing anxiety. The bathroom was small, a lifeless slab of porcelain and tiling. She darted her eyes around for any potential escape. Above the sink hung a mirror, cracked and murky, reflecting the terror etched into her face. She had no weapons, no way to defend herself against the man who hunted like a wolf. Yet, as she tightened her fists, she felt a flicker of defiance ignite within her. "Emily!" she shouted again, her voice stronger now, a battle cry against the dark. "I will find you!" Another blow struck the door. He was relentless. The wood creaked ominously, and she staggered back, but adrenaline fueled her determination. She grabbed a metal canister from under the sink. It wasn't much, but it'd have to do. "Come on, you coward!" she taunted into the corners of the room. "I'll give you a real game." The mockery seemed to provoke him further. He pounded again, his voice churning with rage. "You shouldn't have come home. You should have stayed away." The door buckled hard. A hairline crack appeared. Time was running thin. With a rush of panic-fueled strength, she spun around. Her feet carried her towards the window, the fluttering curtain beckoning like a siren. The wind howled outside, whispering secrets she dared not understand. It could be her only way out. Just as she approached, the door exploded inward. The man stepped through, his face a ghastly mask of fury and delight, eyes glinting with a predatory gleam. "But I thought we were playing," he sneered. She didn't hesitate. With every ounce of energy, Sarah lunged for the window. The glass shattered beneath her weight, and the cold night air rushed in, giving her a brief moment of clarity. She clambered over the jagged shards, desperate for escape. Outside, the ground felt distant, a dark abyss. But beneath her, the asphalt of the driveway lay in wait, a potential sanctuary or her doom. She jumped. Pain shot through her ankle as she landed hard, a jolt of agony that threatened to swallow her whole. She cursed under her breath, biting back tears, willing herself to move. Sarah glanced back at the house, heart racing, knowing full well he wouldn't let her go easily. But she didn't see him. The hallway was empty, the laughter silent, as if he'd vanished into thin air. "Can you hear me?" she whispered, scanning the darkness. A chill gripped her neck as she darted toward the wooded edge behind the house, driven by primal instincts. She threw herself into the trees, branches scratching at her skin like claws. Maybe, just maybe, she could lose him in the labyrinth of shadows. But then, a sudden thump resounded from the direction of the house, echoing wildly in the darkness. A voice, low and guttural, pierced through the silence, a reminder that the game was far from over. "Did you think I'd let you escape?" Sarah halted, scanning the treeline. Lisa's voice flickered in her mind, an echo she couldn't shake. "If you run, he'll hunt you until you tire out." The game was changing, and this time, she was not just playing for herself. As the laughter returned, richer, deeper, more hungering, she felt an icy hand wrap around her heart. How deep into the woods would she need to go? How far could she run? What if the real horror was just beginning? With dread pooling in her stomach, she hesitated. And that hesitation could cost her everything. The woods swallowed her whole. Branches clawed at her clothes, and the underbrush snagged at her ankles like desperate hands. Each step was a gamble, the ground uneven and treacherous. No longer just fleeing from him, she was lost in the dark maze of trees, the world narrowed down to shadows and whispering winds. Sarah, his voice drifted towards her on the chilling breeze, soft yet menacing, like a lullaby twisted by nightmares. Her breath itched, but she pressed forward, trying to drown it out, trying to escape the all-consuming terror that threatened to paralyze her. She couldn't afford to think about what he might be doing right now, what he might be planning. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, one wrong move and she'd tumble into the abyss. The laughter was back, close now, echoing through the trees and sending jolts of ice down her spine. It was sinister, almost joyous. He was reveling in this game, in the chase, but she wouldn't be his plaything. Fighting panic, she searched for any refuge, any sign of civilization in this vast, dark wilderness. Her ankle throbbed with every step, but she pushed through, desperate to just keep moving. Then, a flicker of light pierced the darkness, a dim yellow glow darting among the trees ahead. Hope surged within her, as fragile as a candle flame in a storm. Taking a shallow breath, she made her way towards it, heart racing. Was it a cabin? A way out? But the closer she got, doubt crept in like a shadow. The closer she got, the more the light felt wrong, an illusion in this twisted reality. Even so, she pressed on, whispering prayers beneath her breath. Suddenly, she broke through the trees into a clearing. The light was brighter now, a flickering neon sign that read "Open" above a weathered gas station, its glass doors swinging slightly in the breeze. It looked abandoned, but her mind clung to the possibility of salvation. She dashed forward, muscles screaming in protest. Approaching the door, the old bell above it jingled, a ghostly sound that echoed in the emptiness. The air smelled of oil and stale air. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. "Is anyone here?" Silence enveloped her, a heavy blanket pressing down. She stepped inside, heart pounding in her chest, eyes darting around the shadowy interior. The walls were covered in peeling posters of outdated snacks and sodas, dust floating in the faint beam of moonlight. As she moved deeper, something caught her eye, a flicker at the back of the room, a movement just out of sight. Her insides twisted, fear escalating into a cacophony of dread. "Who is there?" she demanded, forcing her voice to remain steady. A figure stepped from the shadows, a silhouette cloaked in darkness. Sarah flinched, back pressed against a shelf stacked with cans. "Ah, another player in the game," the figure hissed, a familiar voice slithering into her head. It was Lisa, or at least it looked like her, but something was terribly wrong. Her skin was pale, eyes wide with a wild, manic glow of excitement. "They're waiting for you," she grinned, the smile too wide, almost pushed to the limits of her face. What do you mean?" Lisa took a step closer, and the smell of decay wafted towards Sarah, making her stomach churn. "You shouldn't have run, Sarah. You can't hide forever." Fear ignited once more. The gas station was no sanctuary, it was a trap. The laughter began anew, echoing from outside, mocking her, the sound pulsing like a heartbeat. She turned, ready to flee, but the doors slammed shut with a deafening crash. Now, trapped again, Sarah's heart raced, the pounding growing louder than the laughter that filled the air. As she turned back to confront whatever awaited her, one question played on loop in her mind: was she truly beyond rescue, or was something far more sinister about to be unleashed? The game had just begun. The air thickened with tension as Sarah's heart hammered in her chest, echoing in the oppressive silence of the gas station. Lisa's eyes glinted in the dim light, a frenzied spark that sent waves of fear crawling up Sarah's spine. She wanted to shout, to beg for understanding, but all that escaped her lips was a shaky breath. "Lisa, please. You need to help me." Sarah's voice wavered. But Lisa only laughed, a harsh, unnatural sound that twisted the words in Sarah's throat. "Help you? Oh, sweet Sarah, I can help you. I'm here to welcome you to their world." In that moment, terror wrapped around Sarah like a vice. She glanced back at the door, desperately wishing it would open and let her escape the madness looming around her. Shadows danced as if alive, creeping along the walls, mocking her hesitation. "Do you hear that?" Lisa whispered, her voice suddenly low and conspiratorial. The laughter outside grew louder, morphing into a full-throated chorus that echoed through the gas station. It was an invitation, sinister and intoxicating. Sarah's feet anchored to the floor, each pulse of laughter sending her heart into a frantic rhythm. "Forget about hiding. Join us." Lisa's fingers curled claw-like, her smile stretching impossibly. "No! I want tea!" Sarah flung herself backward, hands grasping at the shelves and knocking over cans that clattered to the floor like falling soldiers. The laughter morphed into something deeper, more guttural. It surrounded her, swallowed her, and the brightness of the flickering neon sign began to wane, as if the very essence of the gas station was being consumed by the darkness. "Face it," Sarah. Lisa stepped closer, her movements smooth and predatory. "You know you can't escape the game once you're drawn in. We play until there's nothing left of us." Panic surged within Sarah, a wildfire consuming her senses. Her thoughts raced. She needed a plan, a way out of this nightmare. Her eyes darted around, searching for anything she could use. A flicker on the wall caught her attention. A rusty fire extinguisher hung above her head, barely visible in the gloom. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she turned and lunged for it, the metal heavy in her hands. "Stay back!" Lisa recoiled, but the laughter only grew louder, morphing into a cacophony of voices that echoed off the walls. Sarah felt the pressure of countless eyes on her, eyes trained on her every move. Desperation clawed at her throat, pushing her to act. She swung the fire extinguisher, the metallic clang ringing loud and clear amidst the chaos. It shattered through the stillness, sparks flying as it rammed against the door. But instead of giving way, it only drew the laughter closer, mocking her efforts like a child feigning sympathy. "No!" she screamed, panic spilling over. "Let me out of here!" "You're part of the game now, Sarah," Lisa said, her tone dripping with a sick mix of joy and sorrow. "You can't play without taking your turn." The shadows began to shift, curling and coiling towards Sarah, twisting into grotesque shapes embodying everything she had ever feared. She felt a wave of despair crush her chest, the realization that the hunt was not over, but only just beginning. As she backed toward the door, the darkness crept closer, and Sarah pressed the extinguisher against her chest like a shield, her palms sweaty and trembling. "What's your move going to be?" Lisa taunted, taking another ominous step forward. Outside, the laughter crescendoed, an impending storm of malevolence. The walls seemed to bleed the darkness, and Sarah knew she had to act quickly or be consumed. With raw instinct kicking in, she screamed and hurled the extinguisher toward the door. But just before it could connect, the door burst open. And standing there was a figure cloaked in shadow, its presence darkening the threshold. Sarah's breath caught as she felt the air shift. Something had changed. The game was far from over, and now, she wasn't the only one within the dark embrace. With the laughter merging to a haunting harmony, the question lingered in her mind, who really held the power in this twisted game? As the doors swung wide, beckoning the darkness, she understood with a chill her worst fears were coming true. The hunt was just beginning. The figure in the doorway seemed to suck the very light from the gas station, casting a long, shrouded silhouette that swallowed Sarah's hope whole. She could barely see its features, but the shivering energy that radiated from it was palpable, electrifying the air around her. "Join us or perish," a voice rasped, as dry as autumn leaves. It was roughed with a chilling glee that cut through Sarah's resolve. "No!" she gasped, retreating further against the cold metal shelves, her heart thrumming against her ribs like a wild animal trapped in a cage. She could feel the walls closing in, the shadows reaching out, relentless and hungry. "Tell me," the figure continued, a faint glow sparking in the depths of its face, "hasn't this been your desire all along? A chance to escape the mundane?" Sarah shook her head violently, desperation clawing at her throat. She was in a nightmare, not a fairy tale. "I don't want any part of this." The laughter outside intensified, twisting into something sinister. It rose and fell like a dark tide crashing against her sanity. Every pulse of sound made her feel more vulnerable, swallowed by an ocean of evil she couldn't comprehend. "Ah, but your choice is already made. You came here, didn't you? Seeking something more?" The figure stepped forward, and for the first time, its features were illuminated by the flickering fluorescent light. As her horrified gaze fixed on it, she recognized the lingering familiarity, the way its eyes burned with madness that echoed Lisa's. Could they even be the same? Were they all the same? "Join me, sweet Sarah. We can be free," it beckoned, tilting its head as if considering what to do with her. "I will teach you the ways of the night." She swallowed hard, fighting back the nausea rising in her throat. Fear. It made honest men lie and brave women flee. But behind all of it lay a darker truth. What if the freedom it offered was a lie? "What do you want from me?" she managed, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. "Oh, you'll see," the figure laughed softly, a sound that sent ice coils snaking down her back. "We all have parts to play. It's what makes the game interesting." The shadows surged, clawing at her limbs, any semblance of warmth vanishing. With a fierce scream, she hurled the fire extinguisher. It crashed against the figure with a loud clank, scattering sparks into the suffocating darkness. Only for a heartbeat, it faltered. Then, with a sneer, the figure reformed, a shimmer of mirth reflected in its void-like eyes. "You can't escape. None of us can." Despair sank deeper, like a stone tossed into a dark pit. The amusement twisted into something darker. They were all trapped, playing a game they didn't fully understand. "Run if you wish," it hissed. But the walls had come alive now, shifting without rhythm, closing in around Sarah. "But you'll just end up back where you began." And with that, the laughter erupted outside, spilling into the gas station like a torrent, engulfing her mind, drowning her thoughts. The darkness pressed down like a heavy blanket, smothering her fears with a savage grip. Sarah's instincts kicked in, and she turned toward the side door, a mere slip of an exit buried in a haze of shadows. She had no clue where it led, but certainty ignited a spark in her. She lunged, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. If this creature was right, if the game had already begun, then she needed to take a chance. But as she reached for the handle, something cold and insidious wrapped around her ankle, yanking her back with terrifying strength. With a cry of terror, she felt herself being pulled into the darkness. "Where do you think you're going, Sarah?" The shadowed figure sneered, now inches from her face. "Please," she gasped as a cold sweat trickled down her spine. "Let me go!" But the laughter echoed louder, as the shadows took her deeper. And as the trap set around her, the realization slashed through the terror: this was no ordinary game. This was survival. Just when she thought all was lost, a glimmer of red light caught her eye, igniting hope in the depths of despair. What was that? A flicker of salvation, or another lure into the darkness? And with every ounce of strength, Sarah struggled against her bindings, desperate to uncover the truth behind the shadows. But would she dare to find out what lay beyond, or would fear dictate her fate once again? The shadows tightened, an all-consuming thirst for her very essence. Sarah clawed at the darkness wrapping around her ankle, her fingers slipping against the slick, cold surface that felt like an animal's hide. Panic surged through her. She couldn't let it win. With a fierce kick, she launched herself forward, inadvertently freeing her leg. But in that brief moment of escape, the gleaming red light flickered again, more vibrant. It pulsed rhythmically, heartbeat-like, as if begging her to follow. What was it? Was it a dream? An illusion created by the shadows? "Don't look away!" the figure hissed, frustration lacing its voice. It stepped closer, the horror of its twisted features contrasting sharply with the sudden warmth radiating from the elusive crimson glow. "You want to escape? You want to be free? Then follow me." Sarah hesitated, her instincts murmuring warnings. The prickle of fear gripped her throat. Freedom and peril danced together, their seductive waltz pulling her deeper into the unknown. She cast another glance at the door where shadows writhed like serpents, then to the pulsating light that promised something different, something real. "Why?" she shouted, her voice rising above the clamor of laughter and rage that reverberated around her. "What's waiting for me there?" "Oh, sweet Sarah," it cooed. The echo of her name felt like an invasion. "You have no idea what awaits, do you? Freedom in exchange for loyalty. But you must choose wisely." Before she could reply, the red light flickered again toward the back of the gas station, the source hidden behind aisles of dusty snacks and expired drinks, whispering the possibility of salvation. Determined, Sarah bolted forward, fueled on instinct and adrenaline, her feet pounding against the linoleum. As she reached the light, the shadows screeched, a cacophony of sheer fury and desperation. For every step she took, it felt like the very walls were clawing at her, snapping like jaws ready to devour her spirit. The glow erupted, illuminating a ragged flag with a design that resembled a skull. Beneath it lay a small shrine of old, yellowed photographs and dilapidated trinkets. Each one depicted faces contorted in agony, the lost souls offered as proof of the dark bargain that lay before her. "No!" she breathed, backing away, a cold realization flooding her. This was not a beacon of hope. It was a monument to the very darkness that encircled her. The laughter outside spilled into a frenzied roar, and the door rattled violently as shadows wailed, their collective despair crescendoing. "Join us, forever!" The figure's voice slithered, closing in on her, its laughter echoing like thunder. "Embrace the truth!" Sarah gripped the edge of the shrine, nails digging into the wood, fighting her revulsion to collapse into despair. Every ounce of fear coiled around her throat, squeezing tighter. Was this truly freedom? Then, among the photographs, something caught her eye. A familiar face, framed with endless sorrow. It was Lisa. Her sister's image, wild and desperate, as if warning her from a past that had been snatched away. Sarah staggered back, realization dawning. "No! That's not who I want to be!" she shouted, voice breaking. With resolve ignited, she turned to face the figure spilling closer, the shadows writhing like living nightmares behind it. "I refuse your game." The laughter froze. The figure's expression twisted, a black fire igniting in its eyes. The lights flickered violently, shadows clawing against reality as the laughter turned to screams. "You think you're special? You're just another pawn." There's no escape. Taking a breath, instinct wove through her, and she lunged back toward the door, the darkness awakening behind her like a vengeful beast. Would she find a way out despite the chaos? As she darted toward the flickering entrance, she could feel the gas station shaking, the walls warping, all around her a storm of shadow and fury. Outside, the world awaited, a realm of uncertainty after the curtain of night. "What will you choose?" echoed the figure, its voice trailing like smoke as the shadows clawed at her. Desperate, she threw herself into the light, hard hammering, not knowing where the next step would lead but hoping, just hoping, it was freedom. Yet as she crossed the threshold, something shifted. The gas station behind her seemed to exhale a deep breath, one that held secrets she had yet to unearth. And as the door slammed shut, she understood that the true game was just beginning. What awaited her outside was still cloaked in darkness, and the world had its own monstrous designs. Would she keep running, or would the shadows find her in the light? The neon sign of the gas station flickered one last time before the shadows swallowed it whole. Sarah staggered away, panting, her heart racing as if trying to break free from her chest. The landscape was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the chaotic cacophony she had just escaped. But she knew better than to feel safe. She shot a glance back at the looming gas station. Its facade had changed, transforming into a monstrous specter of her fears, standing tall like a sentinel of despair. Every instinct begged her to run. As she turned, the moon hung like a ghostly orb in the night sky, illuminating the path ahead, the only way forward. "Emily," she whispered, bracing herself against the cold bite of fear that gripped her throat. She had to find her daughter. With a desperate sprint, she plunged into the cover of darkness, weaving through the trees that seemed to taunt her with their looming branches. The world felt alive, shifting and swelling like the ocean waves crashing ashore, and just as unpredictable. Each rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind became a potential threat, drumming in her ears as she navigated the deepening night. Anxiety surged, twisting her stomach into knots. Had she truly escaped, or was she moving further into the claws of her antagonists? Suddenly, a faint sound pierced through the shroud of silence, a child's giggle, melodic and innocent. "Emily!" Sarah called, hope blooming like a fragile flower pressing through cracked concrete. She raced toward the sound, fueled by the primal urge to protect her child, her legs carrying her faster than fear itself. As she broke through the dense thicket, a small clearing opened up, revealing a tiny, wooden playhouse illuminated in soft moonlight. It felt strangely welcoming amidst the chaos, but dread wrapped around her stomach like a vice. "Emily?" she called, voice trembling like fragile glass. The laughter rang out again, harmless yet piercing, drawing her closer. "Mommy!" a small voice chimed, filled with giggles. "Emily!" Relief surged within her, and she plunged into the clearing, rushing toward the playhouse. Just as she reached for the door, a shadow loomed behind her, and she spun around, her heart plummeting. It was him, the figure from the gas station, glimmering in the moonlight. Every ounce of courage drained from her, replaced by icy fear as his grin widened, exposing teeth like jagged rocks. "Did you think you'd be free?" he cackled, that melody of twisted joy returning. "You were never meant to escape the game." Panic raced through her veins. She glanced toward the playhouse, knowing Emily was inside, and time seemed to freeze like a movie stuck on replay. She gripped the door handle, torn between protecting her daughter and confronting the nightmare before her. Yet the sound of Emily's laughter, pure and innocent, was a lifeline. "Leave her alone!" Sarah shouted, her voice fierce despite trembling hands. "I won't let you take her!" Laughter erupted again, echoing with cruel delight. "Oh, but she's already part of it. They all are." Without thinking, Sarah threw the door open, the small frame creaking ominously, revealing the dim interior of the playhouse, decorated with pastel colors and childish delight. "Emily!" But the smile that greeted her was not her daughter's. Inside, luminous figures flickered like dying stars, lost souls wearing the faces of the villagers, twisted with time and pain. Among them stood Paul, looking more monstrous than she remembered. His wild eyes locked onto her with that same predatory gleam. "Sarah," he crooned, stepping forward, voice dripping with insincerity. "Isn't it good to see all your friends here?" Something inside Sarah shattered, and reality twisted like fabric pulled apart. "Leave them alone!" she screamed, but it felt hollow, like words echoing against stone. But then she saw her daughter, a small silhouette nestled among the shadows, seemingly untouched. "Mommy, I was playing." "No! Get away from them!" With raw determination, Sarah surged forward, her heart breaking as Emily reached out toward the darkness, oblivious to its dangers. Fueled by love, Sarah barreled past the figures, feeling the coldness sting as they reached for her, cold fingers grasping at her memories and hopes. "Emily! Come to me!" At last, she grabbed Emily's small hand. The moment their fingers touched, a jolt of warmth surged through Sarah, igniting the fire within her. She tugged her daughter to her chest, protecting her from the encroaching shadows. The figures shrieked, rage fueling their anger as they surged toward the mother and child. Suddenly, the air around them crackled inevitably, the bravest force surged forward. "No!" Sarah yelled again, her voice pulling away the reins of fear. "You won't take us!" She drew strength from the bond they shared, representing a light against the consuming dark. And like a wave crashing against the sturdy shore, the grotesque shadows recoiled back, screaming. "Go! Just run!" she ordered Emily, pushing her toward the edge of the clearing. With one last terrified glance at her mother, Emily bolted toward the trees. Once free, Sarah turned back, feeling a surge of power ignite. If one brave heart could overcome, then two could break darkness. A shattering crack filled the air as she swung wide, her mind fogged with determination. "You will never keep us!" she roared, the words slicing through the night. And in that moment, every soul in that playhouse stood as one. The shadows flared, recoiling in terror before their collective power. A flash of light erupted as the figures dissolved into mist, the howling laughter fading into eerie silence. "Now!" Sarah shouted, her resolve strengthening her voice, and they tore away from the clearing toward the safety of the trees, running as if the wind had blessed their escape. With every stride, they sprinted through the forest, lights flickering and sounds of horrors behind them drowning into silence. Each moment breathed freedom, and each tree left that darkness behind. Finally, as the first rays of dawn stretched across the horizon, they reached the edge of Maplewood. The early morning light filtered through the town, painting the world in warm hues. "We made it, Emily," Sarah breathed, tears trailing down her cheeks. "We are free." But as she turned back one last time, the remnants of shadows lingered at the edges, whispering promises of revenge. "Never underestimate the dark," they seemed to murmur as they faded to obscurity. "We will always be watching." But for Sarah and Emily, it didn't matter. They would face tomorrow together, born anew, and with the dawn, they knew the true game was not about running from darkness, but reclaiming the light. So hand in hand, they walked into the brightening world, ready to face whatever awaited. A journey just beginning, yet one lived in the light instead of the shadows. Now, if you're still here with me, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and help me bring more spine-chilling tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What did you think of Sarah's story? Do you have theories about what might happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a taste of adventure and horror like this. Your support means the world. Let's grow this community together.